this special Halloween SAMHAIN edition of a live stream for TikTok, or if you're watching the replay on YouTube, welcome. I'm doing this on the 31st so I can hopefully get this out, the replay out on YouTube later on this evening. All Hallows Eve, SAMHAIN. Actually, this used to be my favorite holiday of the year. Yeah, I always thought it was pretty cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at some of the grammar here, but it's mostly just going to be talking about the history of Halloween, history of SAMHAIN. Hey, thank you for the heart me. I appreciate that. Hey, go ahead and share this if you feel squirrely. I appreciate the support and grow this channel. So share it, tell your friends, comment, like, subscribe, and of course, if you feel like sending a gift, I thank you very much. Much gratitude for that. Cannot share. That's interesting. What I do, I just hit the share button, copy the link, and then copy paste that into whatever other social media platform that I use. I just shared it on my YouTube channel. I made a post in the community section of my YouTube channel, just copy and pasted the link. But anyways, let's get into this stuff. And the history of Halloween. I don't know how many of you are aware of what's known about it. Now, me personally, my position about history is none of it is certifiable when it comes down to it. The best you can hope for is a probability of something that happened, and the least, the possibility. What you can do is look at historical texts, documents, and look at a wide range of those things and look at the dates of those things. And if you find this, cross-reference the same data in multiple documents, then it's a good chance that that's probably the more accurate depiction of what may or may not have happened. But as I said in my other live streams, history is written by the winners, number one. If you go back into ancient history, history was written by the winners. That's what was, just like a publisher today or the mainstream media. They control what is released to the public according to the bias of whoever owns them. So it's no different in the past. I mean, why would we think it would be any different? Number one. And number two, who wrote the histories in the ancient past? Not everybody knew how to read and write. Most of the people, the small percentage of people that knew how to read and write, were from the social caste of the priesthood. So the priests, or the priest kings or whomever, wrote the histories. The ones that control the population, much the same today. A lot of religions control the mindset of people. So it's no different back then. So it gets kind of tricky when you're looking at your history to see what's real and what's not. Real, which those of you who study correct sentence structure, you know that real is no contract, because RE means no and AL means contract. But I'm using plain, simple English to communicate here. So real just means in the modern sense that it exists. It really happened. It's a true thing. But nobody really knows in the past unless you were actually there as to what happened or didn't happen. So what I've come to, the conclusion I've come to about the history of Halloween, it definitely predates Judaism. And when I say Judaism, and I don't I don't say this in any way, shape, or form to offend anyone out there who participates with a monotheistic belief system. When I say Judaism, I'm including Christianity and Islam under that umbrella, because both Christianity and Islam come from and are rooted in the Abrahamic religion of Judaism. All three of those religions are rooted in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. So when I say Judaism, I am including Christians and Muslims. Okay? So Halloween predates Judaism. Halloween was, for lack of a better term, a pagan holiday. It was celebrated by Native Europeans. And by Native Europeans, I mean the Europeans that existed on that continent before Christianity overtook it. Before Judaism overtook it. So my theory is, during those dark years when the Crusades were going on and the militant Jesuits and Christians were decimating the native Europeans, forcing them to convert to Christianity, much the same way the settlers did to the North American natives, much the same thing. While they were doing that, to make their jobs a little bit easier, they would offer the native Europeans a choice. They would say, hey, if you convert to Christianity, we will allow you to keep these pagan holidays. And one of those holidays was Halloween. You can still celebrate that. We're not going to mess with you. Keep your holidays. All you got to do is accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And accept the fact that we are going to build stave Christian churches on top of your pagan sacred sites and locations. It's either that or die. It's either that or be, murdered and have your daughters raped and your sons sold into slavery and whatever else. So, Native Europeans were assimilated into that Christian construct, and they were allowed to keep Halloween. So that's why you get Christians today puzzled. How can you celebrate Halloween? Why would you celebrate Halloween? Why would you do such a thing? Why would you do such a devilish thing? Well, that's one possible reason why you would do it. So I got something interesting for you if you stick around for it. I have found a video from an actual Thulian, an actual Native European who lives a Native European lifestyle, and they give their take on what Halloween is from the perspective of the ancient pagan rituals. So I hope you stay tuned for that. And I don't mean, just to pre-qualify it, I don't mean any harm to that channel or that creator. I just think that what they said is super relevant and super educational. So, well, we'll get to that when we get to it. But let's check out the etymology of Halloween. So as you can see from Etymology Online, last night of October, the eve of All Saints' Day, as a popular holiday, 1781, in a Scottish context, a Scottish shortening of All Halloween, All Hallows Even, 1550s, the evening before All Hallows. By the way, interesting side note, folks. When were the Dark Ages? Okay, so 14th centuries. Check it out. Are you familiar with what a bastion fort is, or a star fort? These amazing feats of architecture that can be found all over Earth. I personally did a video about one on my Coral Blade Grotto channel about the Fort Pickens Star Fort in Florida. All those forts were built around the 15th century, I'm pretty sure. Very, very interesting that all these hundreds and hundreds of star forts, which are to think of the scope of building these things, and they all appeared in a very short period of time. How many architects and surveyors were there available to build these things all around the same time all around the world? It's crazy, especially coming out of the Dark Ages. How's that even possible? Wow, I got off on a tangent. Sean Pace, hey, I'm glad you're glad. Thank you very much. I appreciate those kind words. Also, to those of you who gifted and sent a diamond, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I really do. It inspires me to keep going on here. So let's get back to this Halloween stuff here. This is from the otherwise obsolete hallow, which means holy person, saint. Also see even and compare hallow. So even is the last part of the word, the een. So I can see how that would come from a Scottish, if you could picture a Scottish accent, een. So holy person and even. All Hallows is Middle English all Hallow, late Old English Irra Halgan, all saints, the saints in heaven collectively. Also the name of the feast day of the individual churches. The date, October 31st, is described as Ale Hallow. Hopefully you're getting some comedic benefit out of this. Me murdering these names, trying to pronounce these words. Circa 1300, Hallow Day for All Saints Day from 1590s. Earlier was Halwemese Day, late 13th century. Hallowtide, oh that's cool, 15th century. First week of November. The last night of the year in the old Celtic calendar, where it was Old Year's Night, a night for witches, a pagan holiday given a cursory baptism. The word and the magical lore about the date were popularized by Burns's poem, 1785, and he attached a footnote explaining it, but probably dates to 17th century in Scotland and is the name of a tune in 1724. The tune is mentioned again in an English Scots songbook. The cheerful, that's an interesting spelling of cheer, isn't it, folks? Chear. Companion in 1783, and Burns was not the first to describe the customs in print. That reminds me, folks. I'll be right back. Irish Wisdom, Preserved in the Bible and Pyramids, by Connor McDarry. This book was recommended by a show that I listen to from time to time called Crow 777 Radio. Now, I've been a listener of Crow for many, many years, okay? I may not always agree with the content that he produces, but I certainly enjoy his show. Now, this book, Irish Wisdom Preserved in the Bible and Pyramids, this book claims to prove that the Bible was written by Irish priests long ago before Rome, and that the pyramids were built by Irish priests long, long ago. That all of that comes from Ireland, which was once a great kingdom spread across the earth until what would be considered, I guess, the Roman Catholic Church came and decimated it. Now, as for those claims, this fella, Connor, has not provided one shred of tangible evidence to back up the claim of the title of the book. But I digress, because I'm not even halfway through the book yet. So hopefully near the end, or whatever, he will prove his claim here. But it's very interesting to me. I'm a very open-minded person. I'm very skeptical, though. I don't just buy into things because, oh, that makes sense. You know, I mean, I have to have certifications. But it's so interesting that someone would write a book like that and make a claim like that. Just like the individuals who claim that, for example, the majority of slavery of the African slaves, those, they actually did not come from Africa, that they were actually native to North America. They were already here. And there's a lot of evidence to prove that as well. Not to prove it, but to back it up. So as you can see, folks, history is very tricky. All right, so we've gone through the etymology of Halloween. Let's check out even real quick here. Even, end of the day. Old English, AEFEN. And longtime viewers, such as Sean, which Sean has actually even done a workshop with me a couple years ago, will remember that I did a salvage on the word, well, actually a salvage on the digraph AE, so that I could use it in Rule 1, Rule-ЭQUAL, AE. And I took that from Old English. I don't pull stuff out of my ass. I research it and make sure there's a continuance of the evidence to back it up. And you can find that video, that salvage video for the digraph AE, over on my YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/ChasingMatthewGlass. So it comes from Eve, which means evening. Proto-Germanic, ebando, Dutch avond, abend, Old Norse, day before a saint's day or festival, from late 13th century. The moment right before an event, evening. That's so interesting, because think about the way even is meant as far as, are we even? Are we at the end of the day? I don't see any reference to that here. That's so, oh, it's at the top because I didn't go all the way to the beginning. There's your Rule 1, Rule-ЭQUAL, folks. You got to get the whole story before you pass a judgment. Judge mechanics. Old English, level, equal, harmonious, level, plain, smooth. Okay, so that's Old English. Okay. Etymologists are uncertain whether the original sense was level or alike. 1550s, equal footing. So that's interesting. So you have the Old English EFEN, which means level. And then you have Old English EFNAN, which means to make even, to make level. And then you have the end of the day Old English. So those are all different. That is the beauty of correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar, folks, is that you don't have to worry about stuff like this because your dictionary would contain one word, one meaning. You would not have multiple meanings for words. So next we're going to look at Samhain, which is an easy one. It just means the end of the summer. Ancient Celtic festivals celebrated. I had a joke I was going to do, folks. Let me start that over. And then we have Samhain, ancient Celtic festival celebrated on the 1st of November, 1888, from Irish Samhain, Gaelic Samhain, from Old Irish Samhain, literally summer's end, from Old Irish Sam, summer, plus fuin, which means end. It marked the start of winter and of the new year. There you have it. Are there any fans of Samhain out there, the band? That guy from the Misfits, Glenn Danzig, that was his band after the Misfits was called Samhain, before he went on to form Danzig. I'm not really a fan of Danzig or the Misfits. There's some tracks on there that I can listen to and get into, but I've never been like a fan of them. But one band I am a fan of, and one album in particular to Megadeth they're in, is Celtic Frost, who in my mind, one of the godfathers of the Norwegian black metal scene, which I'm not a fan of that music in general, just bits of it. Specifically Burzum. I enjoy Burzum. And more specifically about Burzum, I enjoy Varg's later work. I'm getting ahead of myself here. But those are the meanings of Halloween and also Samhain. Now, if you are interested, if I've held your interest, and you want to know what I think is the best possible closure on what the pagan, the Thulian ritual or event of Halloween is, well, I'm going to play you a video. We're going to watch a video together. It's movie time. First, I ought to give you some background, though. This video comes from a young lady named Marie Cachet. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. If it isn't, I apologize to Mrs. Cachet. She is married to someone legally named Louis Cachet. Louis Cachet, although that is his legal name, his actual name, the one that everyone knows him by, is Varg Vikernes. And they have written some very fascinating books. They are how can I say this? They are devout Native Europeans, and they work. All their work is towards preserving and progressing that Native European culture. Much in the same way Native Americans, First Nations in North America do that with their cultures, with powwows and things like that. They try to preserve the language, the art, the mechanics of the way they did things back then. It's the same thing that Varg and his wife Marie do. They're very well read, and while of course I don't agree with everything that they put out there, one thing's for sure, they know what they're talking about. So having said that, I invite you to join me in watching this to cultivate your knowledge of what Samhain, the best explanation for Samhain, is. And here we go. Oh, by the way, I mean no harm in showing this video. I'm going to link to, when I replay this on YouTube, I'm going to link to this video, and also I'll try to link to their website, the Thulian Perspective, I think it's called, because I do think it's very valuable information for anyone out there who would like to get a different and unique perspective on history. It is a very old festival going back to prehistory. I mean, that's an interesting way to say it. Going back to no history. Let's just say, I'm pretty sure they mean it's old. It is part of the ritual of reincarnation for 1 year, from 7 years to 8 years in children. Caveat: I don't participate with this term reincarnation as a fact. Grammatically, it's no contract. Carnation, carnal, we know what that means. Is there proof of reincarnation? Well, there is evidence of consciousness surviving from one vessel to another. I've seen that, but I've not seen it enough or consistently enough to be able to certify that this thing called, which I would call continuous carnation, would be continuous conscious carnation, would be a fact. As I said before, though, I am open to possibilities and probabilities. This ritual has 3 symbolic pregnancies before the final rebirth of the ancestor in his new body, the body of the 7 or 8-year-old child. Here we are at the beginning of the 3rd, while the 2nd, started at Easter, is not over. The last 2 will end at Yule, or possibly the 3rd.
Maintenant construit en entier sa couronne, qu'il a eue contre ses dents de lait au début de l'année. Il a entièrement construit sa couronne comme le cerf adulte, à cette période de l'année. Le cerf, à partir de l'âge adulte,
Symbolically, the child has now completely built the crown to get the beginning of the year in ritual in exchange for his first baby teeth. He has completely built his crown as the adult deer has at this time of year from adulthood. Adulthood is from 7 years among deer. The crown, that's the key. The antler is the shovel of prehistory, that is to say, what opens the grave. Symbolically, the deer's bream at this time is also a means of opening the grave and womb such as the mother's hoarse scream at birth.
A la même fonction, et le brame de cerf en automne permet d'ouvrir la tombe ou l'utérus, comme le cri rauque de la mère à l'accouchement. Cette troisième grossesse symbolique est axée sur la sortie de l'utérus, c'est-à-dire la sortie de la tombe, le combat final. Les cornes, c'est l'attribut de Cernunos ou de Pan, qui est aussi Loki ou Phoenix. On aurait appelé, dans nos mots modernes...
Folks, are you hearing this? Adrenaline. All Hallows Eve. October 31st. Children. I'm not going to get too far into this, but I know the thinkers out there are going to start making connections, or not connections, but associations with certain groups, powerful, supposedly groups of people on Earth that are doing not so nice rituals, producing not so nice substances that are based, one of the ingredients is adrenaline, if you know what I'm saying. I'm not going to go into that though. But that was the first thing that came to my mind when I heard her say that.
On appellerait ce dieu adrénaline. L'adrénaline, donc le dieu Pan, qui veut dire tout, qui est relié au mot panique aussi.
Adrenaline, the god Pan,
cette
means
force
everything
incroyable est une
panic.
hormone
This incredible
indispensable à
force is an
l'accouchement
essential
et au
hormone for the
réflexe
fetal
d'éjection du
ejection
fœtus.
reflex.
En fait,
See
à
books
la
by
mise
Michael
dehors
Odent
du
and
fœtus et donc
Childbirth,
à la
in short, to
sortie
get
de
out of
l'ancêtre de la
hell.
tombe, par analogie. Le dieu Pan est capable
The
de faire
god
revivre
Pan
les
is able
morts.
to
D'ailleurs,
revive the
aujourd'hui, on
dead.
utilise
We
l'adrénaline
use adrenaline
lors
against heart
d'attaques
attacks
cardiaques ou
and
de chocs anaphylactiques.
anaphylactic shocks
Il est la force
today.
vitale qui est présente
It
dans
is the
toute
life
chose
force present in everything.
et
It makes you
il
able
vous
to give
permet
the
de donner
best
le
of
meilleur de
yourself for
vous-même
a
sur un
short
court
time
instant. Il
to
permet
make
de
your
faire,
heart
il
beat
fait
faster.
battre
It is
le
the
cœur plus
final
vite.
sprint of
C'est en
life.
quelque sorte le sprint
It's
final
also
de la vie
terrifying, of
quand vous en
course.
avez besoin. Mais il est aussi terrifiant, bien sûr. Et il est lié
It
au
is
loup.
linked to the
Donc le
wolf,
loup,
the
c'est
female
l'appareil
reproductive
reproducteur
system,
féminin.
which screams and howls during
Il est lié
childbirth
au loup
and
qui crie lors de
scares
l'accouchement
children
et qui
lost in
fait
the
peur
forest.
dans les contes
Placenta
aux
womb
enfants. Les
entails.
enfants qui sont perdus dans la forêt. Donc la forêt, c'est l'utérus ou le placenta. Et en leur faisant peur, en fait,
By scaring
la mère,
them, the
donc
wolf
l'appareil
and mother
reproducteur
literally
féminin, le
makes
loup,
them run
les
out.
fait
She
littéralement
makes them
fuir.
become
Elle les fait devenir
berserkers.
berserk. Mais maintenant,
Okay,
il va
now
falloir
I
que je
have to
parle d'autre
talk
chose
to you
avant
about
de
something
continuer.
else. Halloween is also
Sur
the
Halloween,
time
donc
when the
Halloween, c'est
bear
aussi
enters the
le
cave to
moment
winter.
où l'ours entre dans sa caverne ou dans sa grotte pour hiverner. Ou dans sa tanière, d'ailleurs.
The bear
L'ours,
in the
dans la
symbolism
symbolique,
is
c'est la
the
mère
mother
portante.
who bears. Bear
D'ailleurs,
and to bear are the same words,
en
but
anglais,
also the
le
gravitation,
mot
Mother
bear
Earth,
est
whereas
pareil
the
que le mot
wolf is the
to
mother
bear,
too, but more
porter.
precisely the female reproductive
C'est la
system
mère
in the womb.
portante, c'est la gravitation, c'est la terre-mère. Alors que le loup est plus précisément l'appareil reproducteur féminin, donc la partie utérus et sexe féminin. L'ours, c'est aussi un système de reproduction très spécial, puisque en fait, elle est fécondée par plusieurs mâles en été, et elle va donc développer plusieurs embryons qu'elle va en quelque sorte congeler. Évidemment, elle les congèle pas, mais elle stoppe leur développement. Et elle va les réactiver en fait quand elle va rentrer dans sa tanière, donc lors d'Halloween en fait, en automne.
But she does not reactivate them all. She reactivates a number that depends on her accumulated fat level. The fatter she is, the more of them she reactivates.
De la graisse qu'elle a accumulée pendant l'année. Et elle va en quelque sorte choisir.
The bear is, in other words, the one who chooses who will live, who will sufficiently brave. She is nature, Mother Earth, who chooses to spare or kill, to revive
en d'autres
or to let
termes, celle qui choisit qui va vivre. Qui est suffisamment valeureux. Elle est la nature qui choisit d'épargner ou de tuer, de faire revivre ou de laisser mort. Elle est celle qui descend chercher les morts, donc les embryons congelés, dans la caverne. Elle est celle qui descend chercher les morts, donc les embryons congelés dans la caverne, dans le monde d'en bas, pour les ramener à la vie ou non. L'ours est crainte mais adulée. Jusqu'à Noël, elle va nourrir les embryons choisis pour les faire grossir et les mettre au monde pour les faire revivre. Le tout, c'est d'être choisi. Et justement, à la préhistoire, le monde n'était pas le même qu'aujourd'hui. Il y avait des bêtes féroces, il y avait des hyènes des cavernes, des prédateurs pour l'homme. Et probablement, l'enfant non sevré, donc avant 7 ans, ne sortait pas seul, puisqu'il était une proie trop facile.
I have the deep intuition that this ritual is also related to the first outing in the world alone, which is another weaning tool. We know that 7 or 8 years old children walked alone in the caves, probably dangerous and terrifying experiences, and she gives references there.
On a des traces de pas dans la grotte de Pêche-Merle et dans la grotte de Chauvet en France. C'était sûrement une expérience dangereuse et terrifiante.
Weaning meant becoming an individual.
The child had to show that he was able to survive, that he knew how to overcome his fear, and also that nature spared him. It was the supreme examination before the reincarnation of the ancestor in him. L'ours, la terre-mère, l'épargnait. C'était l'examen suprême avant la réincarnation de l'ancêtre en lui. Il allait donc habillé comme l'ancêtre mort, en haillons, couvert de cendres, demander à la nature de l'épargner, de le choisir. Se couvrir de cendres avait une fonction symbolique, ça représentait l'ancêtre mort, mais aussi pratique, puisque les cendres couvrent les odeurs. C'est un camouflage contre les odeurs. Et les odeurs, c'est ce qui attire en premier l'attention de l'ours, qui est à demi aveugle. L'ours, c'est l'ogre dans les contes. Oui, puisque l'ours est quasi aveugle, particulièrement dans le noir. L'enfant ancêtre ne devait pas être remarqué, comme le fœtus dans le ventre. En expérimentant ce rituel, il a invoqué en quelque sorte l'adrénaline, donc la peur, indispensable à sa sortie. Cette adrénaline est indispensable pour réveiller l'ancêtre en lui, et donc indispensable à sa réincarnation. C'était aussi lors de cette sortie qu'il allait souvent accompagné d'un chien, qui est le symbole de l'appareil reproducteur féminin comme le loup, mais qui est aussi celui qui montre le chemin, celui qui cherche et qui chasse les morts, ou les ossements d'ailleurs. Il allait donc accompagné quelquefois d'un chien, rechercher la tombe de l'ancêtre qui allait se réincarner en lui. Il allait l'ouvrir à l'aide du bois de serre, donc la pelle, donc sa couronne, et généralement il prélevait la tête, parfois les os des jambes, et le cœur des pierres. Donc, le cœur des pierres, c'était un biface ou une pointe de lance à la préhistoire. Et plus tard, c'était des haches, soit symboliques, soit des haches de taille réelle. Dans la tombe du Regourou en France, qui date de moins 70 c'est une tombe néandertalienne, les jambes ont été remplacées par des jambes d'ours. Symboliquement, il est alors porté par l'ours, il est devenu berserk. Les effets personnels du mort étaient aussi prélevés, peut-être à ce moment-là, mais l'enfant ne disposait pas avant Noël. Il va donc voir l'ours dans sa maison. La maison, c'est l'utérus, c'est aussi la grotte. Et cette grotte, cette maison couverte de friandises, symboliquement, les friandises, c'est le sang de l'ours qui le nourrit. Et cet ours-là adore les aliments sucrés. Donc les friandises, c'est du sucre transformé. Symboliquement, c'est le sang de l'ours qui est très, très sucré, du coup. Il lui demande à manger comme aujourd'hui les enfants vont frapper à la porte des maisons et réclamer des friandises, alors qu'ils sont déguisés en morts-vivants. Lui demander à manger, c'est lui demander de le nourrir et de le choisir du coup. S'il obtient ces friandises, il revêt la peau de l'ours, ou du loup d'ailleurs, il est dans l'ours ou dans le loup, et il est devenu un berserk. Ce qui lui permettra de revivre, de sortir de la tombe, de sortir de l'utérus pour la dernière fois. Et ce sera à Noël, lorsqu'il combattra cette peau d'ours et qu'il s'en sortira, qu'il la jettera par terre pour symboliquement, en hurlant, pour une naissance symbolique. La citrouille, la racine à l'eau, qui a une lumière à l'intérieur, c'est l'image de ce qui survit à l'hiver, en fait. Pour faire revivre la plante a besoin de la racine qui est en fait hiverne d'une certaine façon. Et puis qui renaît au printemps suivant, puisque les plantes à racines sont bisannuelles. Soit cette plante-là peut revivre par les graines, dans le cas de la citrouille. C'est une image forte de réincarnation après la mort orange de l'automne. C'est l'énergie congelée en quelque sorte pendant l'hiver, conservée pendant l'hiver, et c'est la force vitale de la plante. La citrouille dans le conte de Cendrillon est un exemple frappant, puisqu'elle est transformée en carrosse qui est tirée par des souris valées, des souris transformées en valées. La citrouille, c'est le carrosse des graines pendant l'hiver. Ce carrosse est mangé par les souris qui, de cette façon, donnent naissance ou amènent à la vie les graines. Mais en fait, les racines et ce qui est devenu plus tard une citrouille sont les remplaçants des véritables crânes des ancêtres. À l'âge de pierre, comme on a dit tout à l'heure, les enfants allaient chercher les crânes des ancêtres, mais c'était encore le cas des Celtes également, qui ont été qualifiés de chasseurs de tête, je dirais, par les Romains, à cause de leur incompréhension face à ces pratiques. Les tombes au crâne et même aux os des jambes manquants sont communes dans toute l'Europe depuis Néandertal. Lorsque vous entendez des archéologues parler d'une tombe qui a été pillée, elle n'a probablement pas été pillée, en tout cas pas dans tous les cas, mais elle a simplement été ouverte comme elle doit l'être dans ce rituel de réincarnation. Une tombe est faite pour être ouverte en fait. Avec le christianisme, parfois avant, cette pratique a cessé et l'ouverture des tombes est devenue un blasphème. Les crânes ont donc été remplacés par des racines ou par des citrouilles.
Only the most honorable will be reincarnated. This reminds me of Twix chocolate bar advert that keeps being pushed in my face. This live stream reminds you of a Twix advertisement? That's interesting. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Now, I hadn't watched that video the whole way through, so I didn't know what it was going to say at the end. Keep in mind that the narrator of that and creator of that video, Marie Cachet, is a Thulian. And she does subscribe to that belief system of reincarnation. It is a religion. for her and her husband. And I honor that. I mean, people can believe whatever they want to believe. My main focus was her take on Halloween and what all of that means, bringing it back to nature. Because actually, when you look at something and you take it out of the fantastic and bring it into the practical, now it makes more sense. That's not to say that nature is not amazing and nature is not spectacular and fantastic. But when we think of things like supernatural, what does that mean? Supernatural. It just means not natural. And why is it not natural? Because we don't understand it. We don't have the capacity or the wherewithal or the knowledge to be able to explain something, so we think it's beyond the natural. But folks, everything is natural. Everything is natural. It comes from nature. It doesn't matter if you choose left or right. They're both chewed and delicious. It doesn't matter if you choose left or right politically either. They both belong. They're both two hands belonging and controlled by the same head. What was I going to say? Again, this was supposed to give you a little different angle on the history of Halloween, or Samhain. Give you a little food for thought. A lot of people, you know, it's hard to think about these types of things. When people go into thinking, giving closure to something and saying, well, it's supernatural, or it's God's plan, or the devil made me do it. To me, those are just excuses to stop thinking about something. Most of the time, people are afraid of the unknown. If they don't understand something, they fear it. And if they fear it, they usually don't want anything to do with it. They will dismiss it. They will ridicule it. Or they will say it's so dangerous and you're not allowed to do this or that, you know, because they don't understand it. It's interesting to me, and I'll share this last thought with you here. Let me get back up on Google and see something once. Yeah. Genesis 2 narrates that God places the man Adam in the garden with trees of whose fruits he may eat, but forbids him to eat the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Okay? Folks, why is this a common theme in the Bible? Why wouldn't God want Adam to have knowledge or gain knowledge of good and evil? Well, if you look at some older versions of that book, you will see that the word God is plural, Elohim, and to paraphrase, they say something to the effect of, you know, if Adam eats from this tree, then he will become like us. So I take that to mean that they didn't want him to come to their level. They wanted to keep him subjugated. So it's an instance, a very common theme in the Bible, to bottleneck knowledge, to keep mankind in the dark about certain things. Another thing, another place where this happens is when you come into prophecy, fortune telling, things like that, and what they refer to as witchcraft. The God of the Bible forbids that. You know, it's the devil's work to tell the future, to do fortune telling. It's the devil's work to, practice witchcraft. But yet, if you're authorized by God, you can be a prophet and tell the future. But your normal everyday guy is not supposed to mess around with stuff like that. And that is still in effect today, because I personally know people, like when I start talking about tarot cards or something like that, or Ouija boards, or remote viewing, if they're a Christian, they will shy away from it. They get like, I don't want nothing to do with that. I have no interest in that. Because there's a stigma there. They've been programmed to be afraid of it, or to have no interest in it, to leave it alone, just by words in a book, which is crazy to me. But it's just an example of the Bible basically bottlenecking knowledge. To explain, if you have not seen it, it's about two bears looking at twins discussing which to eat. XR4 Jersey. Must really want me to see this Snickers ad. Why don't you send me a link or something to it? 257 diamonds. Holy crap. Thank you very much, Sean. Looks like that's all of it's come from Sean. I appreciate that, my man. Salut. By the way, I used to love Twixt. When I was a manager on a huge golf community, there were 6 18-hole golf courses at this place, and I was an assistant manager, assistant superintendent. I was in charge of about 25 to 30 multicultural fellows who I had to make sure did their jobs every single day, even though they spoke like 5, 6, 7 different languages. When they would go home around 1 o'clock, I would be left alone in my office to do paperwork. And then I'd probably spend about an hour or 2 hours in there doing paperwork. And then I would go back out on the golf course and help the irrigator or whatever was going on. Go to the pro shop and shoot the shit with some people up there or whatever I was doing. But during that time, I would get so tired. And I would go to the vending machine and grab a Twixt. A Twixt and a Reese's. And then I would wake back up. Can you check out the root meanings of fruit? The root meanings of fruit. I sure can, B. Tom Bailey. And you can too. It's etymologyonline.com. Anyone can use it. Any vegetable product, so it's a suffixed form of this, which simply means to enjoy, with derivatives referring to agricultural products. To use, enjoy, possess. There you have it. Comes from Proto-Indo-European, means to enjoy. That's what fruit is. So the fruits of your labor would mean to enjoy the joy of your labor. Pretty funny. Offspring is no contract. It's a vowel in front of a consonant at the beginning of a word. But as you can see, it's etymologyonline.com. Progeny, that's no contract as well. PRO is no. Means the same thing as PRE. It's future tense. Have you looked any of these up yourself? I encourage everyone out there to look stuff up for yourself. I mean, yeah, I can be online and do this for you, but I find that people learn the best if they do it themselves. You know, the third paragraph. Oh, I see what you're doing. Sorry, Beaton. I didn't know what you were talking about there. But see, for me, this stuff right here doesn't mean anything. It has no practical value in my construct because I go to the earliest nativity root meaning of the word if I'm going to use it in my construct. Anything that comes after it is a modification of that word. Change is modification. Modification is perjury. It's no contract. So anything that's in blue here has nothing to do and has no value in my construct whatsoever. Unless I want to use it as a, you know, to insult someone, call them a fruit. He's fruity. Which, nothing against people that are fruity. To each their own. And see, the whole thing with that, Beaton, is the Garden of Eden myth is a myth. And so anything we talk about here is just building upon an assumption, adding more assumptions to an assumption. And what correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar is about is the facts, things you can certify for yourself in your construct. And if you want to contract with other live claimants, you have to be able to certify it to them as a fact with a continuance of the evidence. And there's literally nothing that I can think of in the Torah that can be certified as a fact. And it's written in adverb, verb, adjective, pronoun, fiction, babble anyways. But I do appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate all the diamonds. Thank you so much, Sean. And I hope to see you. I'm going to edit this and publish it over on YouTube, so you see a more streamlined version of it. Thanks again, and I wish everyone a happy and healthy Halloween and Samhain. I'll see you next month. If you'd like to learn correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar, contact me at the email address listed at the bottom of your screen. I will set up a 10 to 15 minute video consultation between you and me. You can ask me whatever you like, and I'll do the same, and we'll see if this is something that you're prepared to commit to. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one.